Hello, YTPC. Ethan, Parsimonious Piper here. Today we have Morsels for Mental Manducation. But first, what am I smoking? In a lovely little 2-star pipe by Lee Dublin, I have got some of Milan Tobacconist's Chartwell. Now, Chartwell is a burley-based English blend, if such a thing is possible. It's burley, Latakia, and Turkish, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not aromatic. I'm living a little dangerously. It's got a slightly sweet aroma to it. Let's see if she notices. So, today's morsels. After a brief relight. Ah, much better. Mainstream media often seems puzzled as to why normal Americans don't trust them. Well, to give you an idea, here's a pair of two pairs of headlines. First, NBC, or MSNBC, from 2017. Let me read you their headline. Trump sparks new controversy with U.S. attorney dismissals. Subheadline: 10 years after the last Republican White House had a U.S. attorney scandal, Donald Trump has one of his own. 2021, MSNBC. Biden administration asking most Trump-appointed U.S. attorneys to resign. Subheadline: the Department of Justice under President Joe Biden is asking nearly all former President Donald Trump's appointed U.S. attorneys to resign. The order is a common move during a presidential transition of power. It's only a scandal when Republicans do it. CNN, 2017. Anger mounts over handling of U.S. attorney firings was the headline over an article that in harsh terms discussed Donald Trump's dismissal of U.S. attorneys. 2021, simply DOJ to ask Trump appointed U.S. attorneys to resign. No anger, nothing unusual about this request. It seems that it's standard, it's par for the course to ask the attorneys to resign if you're a Democrat and the previous president was Republican. So why don't we trust them? The bias is everywhere. The inconsistencies of cancel culture. New York Times fired a decades-long, well-respected and awarded science journalist. Why? Because in the course of an academic discussion of the use of racial and racist terminology, an academic discussion, he didn't use the N-word. He didn't call anyone the N-word. He simply said the N-word. New York Times executive editor Dean Baquet, I want to quote him. He says, even though he didn't do anything wrong, he says, "We do not tolerate racist language regardless of intent." Canceled. Now, fast forward. Just last week, we find out that New York Times superstar, 1619 Project author Nicole Hannah-Jones, she herself, within the same time frame a couple years ago, used the N-word. in a tweet. Wasn't an academic setting. Will she be fired? You're kidding, right? Not likely. And finally, our current social justice warriors are pushing the ideas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which have their roots in Marxism, neo-Marxism. Our local news ran a segment this week bemoaning the lack of diversity among public school teachers here in North Carolina. Specifically, what they meant by diversity was that based on the population percentages of the state, blacks are underrepresented as a percentage of public school teachers compared to whites. That's the diversity that they're concerned with, simply racial makeup. Now, are they concerned with real diversity? Well, of course not, because if you looked at demographics in the state of North Carolina and were interested in real diversity, then you would want to make sure that around 50% of your public teachers were registered Republicans. Demographically, Republicans make up 50%. You would want to make sure that well over half of your public school teachers were Southern Baptist. That's a pretty large chunk of our state. Those things would really bring some diversity into the classroom, because the diversity that counts is the diversity of the mind, the diversity of thought, not the diversity of your skin color. But they're not really concerned about that. Now, if we were to take their logic and push for diversity, take a look at the NBA. The NBA is about 80% black and 20% white. But the population of the United States is only about 13 to 15% black. What this tells me is the NBA needs to hire more white players because whites are underrepresented in the NBA. Now, the NFL is about 70% black players and 30% white. Again, the NFL needs to hire a lot more white players because they are underrepresented. The NFL and NBA are clearly racist organizations. Absurd? Of course it is. But so are the left's arguments for diversity when you start taking a look at what's really behind them. Now, with that, light something you like. Enjoy your afternoon.